Hello, good morning. It's a real privilege to be here to talk to you about passion and living with passion. Um, the starting point, the point that I want to start with is living without passion is incredibly difficult. I've done it before. It's hard. You have to, I don't know, there has to be something for you to hold on to and drive yourself, a driving force. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. So earlier this year, I founded a company with my good friend Joseph. We make bags out of taxi seats. Every year, taxis need to have their seats replaced because they get little tears. And actually, sometimes the covers are still in pretty good condition. So we can make these out of them. But the important thing is actually we keep all the production in Hong Kong because industry has moved over the border, over to China. And so there's a lot of excess labor, which is just not used in Hong Kong. So we talked to these people and said, hey, do you like this idea? Do you wanna see if we can make it work? And they said, yeah, we've got ideas too. Let's go for it. And it seems to have gone all right. But the journey up to this point has been long and sometimes frustrating, sometimes difficult. I'd like to borrow a legal concept here since I spent 6 years becoming a lawyer. These two people are Henri Matisse and Vasily Kandinsky. I'm sure you've all heard of them, but I am not sure whether or not you know that they are both lawyers as well as artists. Vasily here was actually a professor in Roman law before he became a painter and the founder of the Blue Rider Group. And Henri Matisse studied law, and he was a law clerk. So there's actually a precedent for what I'm doing here. It's not so unusual to have a day job as a lawyer and a night job as an artist or designer. And this is how it all started. This is my family. The little blonde one over there sitting down is my father. He's a lawyer. And the one sitting next to him is his father, and he's a lawyer. And so obviously there was some kind of, I'll concede that there was some kind of familiar pressure, you know, to get me into the business, into the profession. But I think that their plans got derailed slightly because of this gentleman sitting here. That's my other grandfather, my mother's father. And he is an inventor, an industrialist. And this is my mother. And she was my first teacher. She taught me basically everything I know about art and history and culture. She would take me to go see operas and plays and exhibitions, and this is how I found my passion. This is where it all started. And so obviously I had lots of resources as a child. I was very lucky and very privileged. I went to a school where, you know, people gave me encouragement and praise and materials. I made films and I made, you know, art pieces. I won awards. Yeah, as you can see here, the tone of my old work is very, you know, happy, carefree. And then something interesting happened to me. Then I decided to go to law school. Yes, there was some pressure there, I'll admit, but I'll take responsibility for it, actually, because as an adult, you have to take responsibility. You take responsibility for your decisions, and then you find yourself in a situation, and you look around, and you see what you've got to work with, what your resources are, and you work with it. And what did I have at law school? I had very little time. I had very little money, and no materials to speak of, except paper and pencils. And so I began to draw. I went back to the very basics. I cut out all the fat, and I used whatever I had to try and keep my passion alive, because that's what I needed to do. It was like eating and sleeping to me, and I would happily sacrifice the time that I would otherwise use sleeping to draw at night after I finished my studies. And don't get me wrong, I worked very, very hard on my studies. They were very important, and law is the only reason I can fund my enterprise. It's what everything is born from, actually. And so another important thing to remember is that you have to keep on educating yourself. They say when you're a writer, it's always a big mistake to write more than you read. And it's the same thing when you're an artist or a designer. You have to go out and see things. You have to broaden your mind. And another resource which I had, which I was very rich in London, was museums. That's what London's good for. This is my museum sketchbook. Over here are some masks by some Inuits from the British Museum. This is a Triceratops skull from the Natural History Museum. This on the left here is a detail from a Henry Fuseli painting in the Tate Britain. At the bottom, that's a fish, which I saw on a diving trip, and the last one is a Picasso sketch, which I saw in Spain. It's very important to broaden your mind, see what's there, work with whatever you have, and that is a resource which you can draw upon later for inspiration. And of course, another important thing is friendships. Like Tim said, you know, when you've got a passion, when you reach out to do something, you know, you can't do it alone. You have to have some support, you know, like the Beatles said, you do it with a little help from your friends. And so, luckily for me, I have many good friends and family. The one standing next to me in the white, that's my brother, and these are all my flatmates, and I had this idea to direct a play when I was in university. I spent 3 years writing this play, and most people thought I was insane. Most people thought your idea is stupid, why are you doing it, why are you wasting time? But these people believed me, and they agreed to collaborate and go along with it. And this is Joseph, you know, he's one of my best friends. I told him about my idea, about the bags, and he said, let's go for it, let's do it, let's try it out. But then this brings me to the last point, which I want to talk to you about. Joseph and I met when we were working on a magazine together. It was a lingerie magazine, which explains this photo here on the left. I'm not exactly sure why people hired two guys to work on a lingerie magazine, but hey, they had faith in us, and we said yes, we'll do it. You know, that's what happens. You have to say yes. If you say yes more than you say no, you get interesting opportunities, and you'll do things. And so we did it. The two of us in a sample room. We put this magazine together, and we were very proud of it. Very proud of it. We're happy with the result, but unfortunately, it never got printed. And that's a reality that you have to face time and time again when you're following your passion. Sometimes things aren't going to go the way that you want. Sometimes you're going to fail. And that's a truth which is universal. You're going to face, you're going to have to struggle, you're going to face problems. People are going to say you're stupid, your idea's not going to work, don't do it, you're wasting your time. But if you really believe in it, you have to do it. You have to go ahead and do it. You have to do it even though you don't get reward, even though you don't get paid, you don't get praise, you don't get recognition. If you're really passionate about it, you'll just do it for no reason other than you love it and you have to. And this is the spice of life. This is what makes life worth living. If you have passion, you live passionately. This was the sketch that Joseph and I made upon leaving the magazine. We were going to design a chair. This chair. Now, this is a chair made from a taxi seat, and then it's mounted on a steel frame, which can change from a lounger like this into a rocking chair. And it looks all right, but we didn't think about it too well, because this was actually a massive failure. It was expensive, heavy, and huge. It takes up a huge amount of space, and we've got two of them. We entered it into a competition, and we lost spectacularly. But from that, we went back to the drawing boards and said, hey, what did we do wrong? What can we do differently next time? And we said, let's make these bags. Let's simplify it. Let's take it down to the very basics and see what we can make from that. And so the rest is sort of history. We know there was a combination of luck, but mainly a lot of hard work and a lot of lost sleep. We got interviewed by Chet Lam. He actually bought our first bag and encouraged us. And that's actually something that you'll learn, which Tim pointed out. When you go out there, when you put yourself out there and you show that you have passion and that you live passionately and that you dare to go out there, absolute strangers will actually come up to you and say, I want to help. You know, what do you need from me? What can I do? And that's an amazing thing, actually. People that you don't know at all will just come and do things for you, amazing things. They'll go out on a limb completely and organize things for you, get you resources. You know, people are actually fundamentally good when you put yourself out there and you show, you know, I have something to offer and I have an idea. I need your help. And this is Joseph and me going out there, getting our materials, and you know, and then we talked to the ladies, and they were absolute strangers as well, and they were very happy to help us. They were excited by the idea, because passion is contagious, and that's sort of what I wanted to talk to you about today. Passion is contagious. If only you dare to hold on to it and go out there, even though there's no reward or no pay or anything, you know, it's worth it. Just go out there and do it, and I encourage you to do that, and that's what I want to say today. Thank you very much.